It's a fine foggy night tonight, and I doubt if anyone has ever told you of the marvelous fogs we have in Aberdeen.
Eugene.
Bakersfield.
Los Angeles.
San Francisco.
He wasn't giving me my props in Oaktown.
Portland.
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles de California.
San Francisco.
San Francisco.
You gotta find your Irvine.
Irvine?
Hanford.
Eugene.
Seattle.
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 Sacramento.
Fresno.
We're going to Vancouver.
Modesto, California.
San Diego.
Gina.
You know, there might be an opening for a manager in Visalia next spring.
Yakima, right?
Vallejo, California, the V.
3, 2, 1, and welcome to the West Coast Sojourn Podcast. I'm Donnell Alexander.
I'm Lev Anderson.
And we have a guest, an enchanting guest, who's going to fill our minds up with magical things. I don't know why I gave you that introduction, but I find your content really beguiling.
It's a really great intro. Honestly, I love that.
Christina Wong, everyone. Thanks.
Christina Wong.
I'm Christina.
And her traveling magic show.
And my cat Sugar.
Oh, yeah.
Sugar.
Can you give Sugar a proper introduction? We didn't get to see her face.
Yeah. And this is my cat Sugar, who insists on being on my lap at all times because she needs cuddles.
Don't we all at a time like this? Lev was asking me, I know you're from Orange County, but are you in Orange County? Is that where you work, Lev?
No, I'm in Los Angeles, but I grew up in Orange County. But please don't judge me based on that.
I lived in Orange County for 6 years, so I'm always curious about people's experience with that.
What part were you in?
I was in Irvine.
Oh,
the most boring part.
But the most safe. The
safest.
Safe
That's why I was there. I was terrified of everywhere else in Southern California.
The best school system where there's lots of good Asian food.
Yep, you got it. You know Irvine.
But isn't that like the great thing about Orange County, period? The Asian food? No? It's really good.
I'm going to disagree. There's better Asian food elsewhere. But in Orange County, it's definitely great. It was, growing up there, honestly, it was nice to have community. It was nice to know other Asians, other Chinese speaking, and to have Asian grocery stores. And that was like where everybody would go. And that's where my family and our family friends, like we'd go somewhere in Irvine to go meet up and eat Asian food. So like that connection over food and familiarity and cultural traditions is really important.
Yeah. And so where in LA are you now?
I'm over in Northeast LA.
Okay.
Right around
what's going on in your neck of the woods?
So, Lev, you have a question? I said, you have a question, Lev, don't you?
Well, we always like to ask our guests what's going on in their neck of the woods. We like a little bit more of a local perspective because as we do these podcast conversations, everything becomes so big and big picture or societal talk, and which is great. But we like to dig in a little bit about what's going on in people's neck of the woods. What's the vibe? What's your community up to?
Gotcha. Okay, so like our actual geographic neighborhood. I love this.
Yeah, place.
All right, cool. So I'm in Northeast LA, so it's kind of like a pocket where Highland Park, Eagle Rock, and it's like north of downtown, between downtown and Pasadena, and it's right along the 110 freeway, which is one of the oldest freeways in the U.S. It was built in, I think, the 1928. And so there's stop signs that go onto like a fast moving freeway, and it's very windy. It's dangerous. There's always accidents, but it's one of the most beautiful drives up to Pasadena, and it's very green here. Even like in LA, in California, even when it's dry, it's in an area known as the Arroyo Seco, which means it's the dry creek bed or dry river bed. But it attracts a lot of precipitation just because the way the mountains and everything is formed. So there's a lot of greenery here. So it's really beautiful. So my neighborhood, I would say, like, it's been, since I moved here, it's been a hot topic. Gentrification has been the biggest topic because it's been a primarily Latino working class community. It was definitely run by gangs for a long time, and the city council people were corrupt and actually kept a lot of, kind of kept it that way. But then, LA started getting very expensive. And around 2014, 14, there was a massive national gentrification conversation. And Highland Park was the center of it. So today, fast forward now in 2026, post-pandemic, it's actually really difficult. LA, Los Angeles in general has just been facing, I think, a lot of challenges with the rise of AI. A lot of the entertainment industry has fallen out. People have been let go left and right. You have artists, the people who work for Disney, Pixar, who create movies and commercials, and the entire entertainment industry. Over the last 2 years, have been going through this huge strike, and it hasn't come back up. And so the economy in Los Angeles is really challenging right now. And you see the home prices are continuing to skyrocket. They're saying there's not enough affordable housing, and yet there's tons of housing where rent has just been bumped up so people can't get it. People don't have work, don't have jobs, lose their homes. So right now in my neighborhood, it's really... I see in front of me a very stark comparison where you see a lot of people who have money who are moving in because it's still one of the last few affordable, nice, like walkable neighborhoods. It's right on a metro line. It's really cute, actually. And so you see a lot, I see a lot of, West Siders, Silver Lakers. I was one of them who kind of came in, and you see them pushing out a lot of people who lived here, and those people are losing their homes. And so there's a lot more people who are living in these tent homes around the Arroyo Seco in different places. There's a tiny home community next to me, and the comparison is stark. I think about it every day. I feel so lucky and grateful, and yet, like, the people who are here are my neighbors. And there's not enough food, there's not enough housing, and instead of taking care of people, I see the city and the city council just pushing people out. They just tear down these homes that people have built and throw away all their stuff. We try to put them in community services. So the LA mayor's race recently was very heated and very high debate. It was Karen Bass versus Spencer Pratt and Nithya Raman. And so seeing how people voted right now, it was very fascinating. But yeah, my little neighborhood is great. On one side, it feels a little bit like old Melrose in Los Angeles, where all like the shops and the thrift shops and like Wasteland opened here. There's a Mendocino, the chain stores are coming. So the contrast is really wild. You have Le Labo next to like a little Latino owned coffee shop that's been there forever. It's a great neighborhood, but it's hard to see it change.
Is there organizing around that? Like, I mean, I don't know how deep into the action you are, but I'm always kind of curious the efforts to combat gentrification, because I'm up in Portland. I grew up here, and I saw it. The neighborhood I grew up in used to be pretty diverse, working class, and that now it's like one of the hoity-toity neighborhoods in Portland, because part of the problem with gentrification is we live in this capitalist society. We're so used to the housing market being what it is, where, if a landlord can get, people to rent for $3,500, that's what they're going to do. And, our concepts of private property keep us from regulating things more. I don't know was there stuff in the mayor's race where they were specifically addressing some of these issues, or
Well, I mean, I think a lot of those issues there's so much going on. You have people who've lost their homes from both the Palisades and the Altadena fires. So those people have all spread out and taken over homes in all of these different communities and raised prices. there's so much going on. I'm not as involved with like that, but like that's just kind of what I see. The part that I'm the most fascinated by is this idea of like just mutual aid. How do we, as everything's been going on and just the world events have become so overwhelming and stressful, I've found myself going from once thinking much more globally and just scaling down and focusing on local. So for the last couple years, with my work, just my community activism and where I focus my energy, I've really focused it like in the immediate like 5 miles around me. I'm lucky enough to bud tend at a really great dispensary. Honestly, one of the best dispensaries in all of California is in my neighborhood. So I work there. I get to help and I get to see and interact with people who live in my neighborhood and in my community and help them find cannabis medical solutions for them. I see them out in my neighborhood. They have businesses. We support each other. It's honestly really nice. And I find that focusing on my community and neighborhood like that is much more satisfying. I do a lot more in gardening. And so I've been teaching a lot of people how to grow cannabis at home. And so I host workshops and like a social meetup group that's for people who live in my community to like seed swap, share plants. I see the compassion programs at cannabis dispensaries, and it's very lackluster. Medical patients are being forgotten. There's not enough medicine for them. So for a lot of home growers, we have so much excess. Home growers just have, if you grow one plant, that's about £1 if you're doing a decent haul. And if you grow a lot of it just because you like growing and you're good, that's fun, but then there's no one to give it to. And yet there's so many people who really desperately need the medicine. And so I'm trying to connect the threads here in my community to be able to use cannabis as that spark, but also growing food and doing other things. And that's how I personally am trying to help combat that, by creating more of this network community feel and creating more mutual aid amongst neighbors.
I'm back. Am I back?
Well, where have you seen? I mean, have you? Yeah, Danelle disappeared for a second, but he's back. And then where do you see that going? I mean, like, has cannabis broken through to where it's becoming a thing that's not like, the other part of the economy? You know what I mean? Like, is it becoming more integrated in the economy? I know that there's still issues with like banking and stuff on the business end of it, but like culturally, do you find that it's becoming just kind of another part of the culture? Does that make sense?
Is it more normalized, you mean?
Yeah, normalized. Yeah, right.
I think absolutely. I think legalization and all of the progress and all of the steps, as much of a fuckery shit show it is all really good steps towards normalization. Like polls show more Americans than ever support cannabis legalization. We have a federal government that finally has acknowledged that cannabis has medical use. Now, all of the other stuff, I have a lot of opinions, but at the end of the day, at least there's that progress. And when I teach people how to grow cannabis at home in their backyard, here in California, we have home grow laws where each household can grow up to 6 plants. Now, laws change by city, municipalities, and all that, but in the state, you can. And when I teach people how to grow, it's you show a neighbor, you show somebody else, it's like, oh, suddenly it's not a horrible, evil drug. It's just a plant. Like I gave my mom a plant. She wouldn't touch it. The first plants I gave her, she was so scared. She wouldn't even touch it. She was so worried. What if the neighbors find out? What if this? What if that? And then the second year, she was like, grabbed it instantly, put it in the pot. She was like, oh, I think it smells really nice. And so just in 2 experiences of attempting to grow a plant that she didn't even do a good job. I just told her, I'm like, just try to keep it alive. It did really poorly. It kind of died. But she got to experience it. And in that experience of touching the plant and growing it and seeing what it looks like and realizing it's not a horrible, evil drug, her whole mind shifted. And that's so powerful.
I want to ask you, your first plant. I want to kind of shift a little bit to talk about fruit and flower.
Uh-huh.
But your first plants that you grew, how did they turn out?
The first plants I ever received, I killed pretty quickly, within a couple months.
And
And
your
then
learning curve? Your learning curve?
and then I got some more plants, and then I overwatered them and they died. And then we got more plants, and then I had a pretty measly, it was a very sad, dry, horrible first grow. But I did it, and then
Yeah.
every batch since has been better and better and better.
Why? Why?
I
You
think
just
it's
master.
about a not being well, it's been better just because I'm curious. I every time I kill a plant, every time something fails, or if I succeed, I learn something new. So now that adds to the repertoire. I've met so many more people who are interested in growing, so I have great advice. Also, having a community of really accessible and or free resources so that failing is not such a monetary risk. Because normally when somebody's growing, you're buying seeds and it's like at least $100. You have to buy all the supplies and you're a couple $100 in, and if you don't get yield a result, like you feel like you wasted money, you don't want to invest more. But if you're growing and you have a place like the communities that I build where you have friends and neighbors and people who are giving you free seeds and more seed, I killed a plant, someone's like, don't worry, I have more, it's unlimited. It's an abundance of plants once you start to grow. So then I realized, I was like, oh, I don't have to be afraid to fail. I don't have to lose money failing because all of these people are supporting me and sharing their resources so that I can learn, so that now I get to share my resources with others. And I really didn't know the meaning of the word abundance until I started getting into cannabis. And now I truly see it because, you get one plant. If you're able to make your own seeds, you've now made infinite amounts more that you can grow and share with others. I find the legal cannabis industry to be really wild, but it's also really fascinating being here in Los Angeles, working at a dispensary that's been in Los Angeles and serving the community since the medical days and pre-legal, and experiencing the longtime members and listening to the people who've worked there. I think just seeing the legal cannabis industry become more accessible, the type of people who come in and what they're asking for, it's a lot of seniors looking for help with sleep, a lot of help with pain, a lot of people who are medical patients going through chemo and like terminal, and talking with them and their caregivers. I love working there because it fills my soul and it breaks my heart at the same time. And you see the power of cannabis and medicine and community, and like how supportive this place is and how supportive this plant can be. So it's really neat. We kind of started the conversation talking about, like how challenging the neighborhood is, but also like there's such beauty in the tight knitness of these small businesses.
Your business is called Fruit and Flower. What does it mean, and what exactly is it for everyone?
Fruit and Flower is my company. It's basically a creative studio where the culinary intersects with cannabis. So I'm a storyteller. I'm a publicist at heart. My career, I spent 15 plus years in media and public relations, and then I shifted into being more of a content creator, writer. I'm working on editing and doing a food travel doc series right now with Chef Wendy Zhang, who's also been a past guest on your show. And I do a little bit of everything these days, but Fruit and Flower is basically my home and my universe for my creations. I come from a farm to fork, like food background in my career. So I use those same stories, those same analogies to help people choose better cannabis for themselves and understand the type of cannabis that is available. So that's the Fruit and Flower is my world where I get to create art and tell stories and create narratives around food and cannabis and travel that help people, one, appreciate this plant and think about it in a different way, but also really appreciate the craft producers and the farmers who are part of the legacy of this plant that are being forgotten and left behind with legalization. It's the comparison to the food industry is so spot on. I think a lot of people try to compare cannabis and treat it like alcohol or cigarettes. it's literally the food industry. I mean, you look at junk food, junk beverages versus like healthy organic food and everything in between. And cannabis has the exact same thing. But people are just choosing mostly junk food versions of cannabis and they don't even know it. And so I think it's about educating the consumer so that they can make the best choices for themselves, for their budget, for what they want, what's important to them. And, you know, help some of these smaller craft businesses survive because otherwise they won't exist.
So fruit and flower.
It's a happy kitty. I can hear her purring.
Hold on. Pause. You go and then I'll go. Okay.
Oh, I was just saying that I can hear the cat purring.
I wanted to ask, with fruit and flower, there's a Substack, but then it's an Instagram staple.
Yes.
Can you
Yeah.
differentiate what's going on there?
Thanks for keeping me on track. My edible's hitting, and I'm going round in circles now. I'm judging edibles I shouldn't tell you. Cut that part out. I'm judging for the California State Fair. So.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So yes, Fruit and Flower. I write a weekly Substack, so it's a newsletter, email newsletter, and podcast. It also lives as a blog, and I write about food, weed, and travel, and gardening. So it's pretty much I send out a weekly newsletter once a week on Sunday. Sometimes there's an infused recipes. I have guides for how to dose cannabis, how to make your own, different breakdowns of different dry herb vaporizers and devices, travel itineraries, and then a lot of my work I mostly share on Instagram as well. So you can find me on Instagram at Fruit and Flower, all spelled out one word. And on Substack, I'm fruitandflower.substack.com. But yeah, those are the two places to interact with me. And that's where I share a lot of my work. I work with other clients and do campaigns. And then Chef Wendy and I also host something called Mogu Magu. Mogu Magu it started off as an AAPI food, weed, and culture collective, and it's really grown into so much more. It's one of the projects I'm honestly most proud of because it's so beautiful, and the way that we get to story tell, inspired by Magu, a Taoist hemp goddess of longevity, and really uncover her story and see why it disappeared. And feel inspiration through her and retell her stories to create a whole new world universe that's focused around. I mean, it's really like baddie Asian weed culture shit, and it's really fun. And collaborating with other people who are aligned to create this world to empower others to embrace their otherness is really, really amazing.
Mogu Magu. When you tell people about this goddess, are they generally surprised that it exists? It's lore, correct?
It's mythology. Yeah, it's ancient Taoist mythology. So Magu is the Taoist hemp goddess of longevity. Like the characters in her name are Ma, which is the character for hemp. So it looks like a little hut with like trees hanging upside down. So hemp hanging upside down. And Gu is like maiden or auntie. So she's like a hemp maiden or hemp auntie. And there's many stories of Magu if you go digging and look into like different stories written by scholars. And you see her depicted in ancient art, in scrolls and paintings and in ceramics and artifacts. And you see her clearly depicted with cannabis. Her stories are really inspiring. She's an independent, immortal deity, which is really unique. And her story is that she's basically this rad goddess who lives on Mount Tai, the highest mountain that connects the heavens and the earth. And we know that there was a lot of hemp that grew naturally there because hemp was used for clothing, for textiles, for food, for medicine. We see the earliest uses of cannabis in like medicinal and ritualistic use was found in ancient Asia. And so it really makes sense that you have a deity that's really devoted to this. And she's famous for brewing the elixir of life using hemp, flowers, and fungus foraged from the mountain. And so she cooks it in this big, in her celestial kitchen, and she brings it down. She gets invited to go to these parties with scholars, and in these stories, she has to water down this elixir of life that she's made because it's unfit for mortal consumption. It's too strong, so they have to dilute it. And so when the mortals drink it, they really enjoy it. They have a good time. And so just hearing these stories, and her stories are all, she's known as being a protector of women and children. And she's not doing what she does, and she's not healing people with plant medicine for, the good of China or for a man or for her husband or for the patriarchy. Like, she's doing it to be a protector of women and children. She's independent. She's not sacrificing herself for a man, which is what many of these stories are. So I find her to be such a fascinating mythology character, and so we just went down a rabbit hole, and we've been inspired to host a lot of events while building around this world, and now creating a travel docu-series that's called In Search of Magu. So we're currently in the editing phase, and our goal is to have it finished this year and start doing screenings. And the food travel docu-series follows Chef Wendy and myself. We take a road trip from Los Angeles up to Humboldt, and it's titled In Search of Magu. So we are driving from our home here in Northeast LA and hitting the road and traveling through weed and wine country and visiting and stopping at a different farm in each episode. And in each episode, we cook a farm to table, but make it Asian and fabulous with weed dinner at each spot. And we really get to know the farmers and the people and their growing style there. And so it's a really beautiful love letter to California cannabis, and it's really heartfelt. It's at the very forefront. It's a food show. It's really all about the most delicious, gorgeous food and just how you can travel through this world, just like you would travel through wineries, but understanding cannabis in a different way. And it's got a very Anthony Bourdain-ish voice and style to it, but make it feminist forward with myself and Wendy's perspective. So we're excited to see it come to fruition, and we'll host screening parties and dinners where you'll be able to eat some of the food that we ate and cooked on the documentary series.
Yeah, one thing that I've learned more about the cannabis cooking, because I've been like, oh, I'll try edibles, but I haven't sat down and had like a meal of cannabis, based meals. And I think a lot of people, think like sometimes it's like, oh, because they're buying these strong edibles at the dispenser or whatever that can kind of knock you out, like, or help put you to sleep or whatever. But what I found too, when you're eating stuff that's cooked by people that know what they're doing, it's almost just like, it's such a light, clean buzz. It's almost like just drinking two or three glasses of wine, maybe you know what I mean? Like it's a little bit different than I think the kind of stereotype of edible experiences can be in terms of like when you're doing like the fine cooking and everything.
And I think that it's a misconception too, that when most people think about cannabis food or cannabis dining and meals, that it automatically means that all of the food is infused. And honestly, I think that's a mistake. I mean, I've been to a handful of infused dinners. The best one I went to was the one that Chef Wendy was cooking on Bon Appetit. That dinner was, I've never been so high in my life. Like I hit my almost ceiling, but it was a trust the chef to take you on this journey and like dose it well. That was really unique. But most of the time when Chef Wendy and I are hosting a lot of our infused experiences with food and culinary, it's more of a pairing option. Rarely is the food infused. If there is an infused food, it might be a dessert or a sauce, and it's clearly labeled and it's an optional thing. Most of the time we're pairing it with flower. Like, we love smoking. We just love appreciating the flower, and it's like clearest form, and also in concentrates for higher dose consumers. We hosted a hash dinner called Big Spicy about a year ago, which was like, there was like a 6-course hash pairing with each storytelling in between about Magu and like the history of cannabis and how it traveled through ancient Asia and combined with hash as well. So I think that like I enjoy the pairing aspect and I enjoy smoking because now it's a multi-sensory experience instead of just eating. And a lot of times some of these infused dinners, like they're just dosing it with a distillate. It's like that's not creative. You're just adding drops, flavorless drops to food.
Right. Right.
So we like to do things on hard mode because it's fun for us. We like the creativity and the challenge.
I wonder too. Like I feel like with these kinds of experiences that you folks curate, and then also you had mentioned how you're doing judging for the state fair. Is that right? Of cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
Is there? I mean, maybe this is like it's already happened, but for our general audience out there, how much has like the language around, and like how you describe or judge things, like how much of the language around the experience of cannabis has changed?
Can we just acknowledge that at the California State Fair, there is a cannabis experience. And it's the 5th anniversary, so it's the 5th year that the California State Fair has allowed cannabis consumption and purchase on site. Like there's a whole separate area, so kind of like a beer tent. There's like the weed area, and you go to the weed. So now it's at the fairgrounds at the old Raging Waters. So it's an abandoned, shut down Raging Waters water park. And so the cannabis experience is built there, and they have actual plants, and you can see, and there's really beautiful storytelling. So just like if you're appreciating your, biggest cabbage or biggest pumpkin at the state fair, you can learn about cannabis as an agricultural crop and as a plant. And then there's a whole history of cannabis and prohibition, which is really cool. And then there's an on-site dispensary, a consumption area. And then this is the 3rd year, they have a award show. So it's the California Cannabis Awards. So just like anyone can win an award for like best tomato or best wine or best olive oil, best wine at the California State Fair, you can win an award for different cannabis categories. So there's best flower, there's best edibles, concentrates, vapes. And then this year is the first year they have a home grow category, which I think is incredible. So like you're asking, how much has this moved forward? The fact that the California State Fair has a state sanctioned cannabis award and a home grow category that anyone can enter their home grow and win a golden bear, I think is so cool. So I'm really honored to be a judge. I never in a million years did I think that this was something that I would do or be interested in. But I find it to be so delightful that I'm very excited for this year.
I wrote an essay that's going to be in an upcoming issue of High Times, the print issue, with Wiz Khalifa on the cover. And I just chat on the industry. Fucking up a wet dream is my favorite way to describe California cannabis legalization. And I shit a little bit on Oregon too.
It's totally true.
but you sit here and you remind me there are really good things happening in here. The state fair, am I correct? The testing didn't involve testing it. You didn't take it to test it first go around. Not. I thought the previous years they were doing it without imbibing. Does that sound familiar to you? No?
I know that some of the categories are testing results only.
Yeah.
So I think the first year it was kind of like that, and then some of the categories are still that. And then the last 2 years, Buddhist came in to provide the judging and the competition experience. And so I'm also Chef Wendy and I are also Buddhists. So that means I'm a critic. So I write reviews about edibles and different products for this app. So anyone can download the app and you can look at different products in the California market and they're reviewed, kind of like a Yelp or how people review wine on like the Vino app. The critics are we judge on a 100-point scale, just like in wine. And so there's like different notes of like aroma, taste, category. So they've standardized the judging procedures. And so now they're helping to support a lot of these industry competitions and awards with with consistent judging rubric and experts like curated for it. So So they do the California Cannabis Awards, and then we also judge the MJ Bowl, which last year was the first competition of its kind for like California and for New York.
Okay. I want to ask about this. If we can go back to Orange County, because Lev is making a documentary about Irvine.
Oh,
And
yeah?
yeah, it was a big topic of conversation at Wendy's party back in March. But I'm curious because I think ethnic people in Orange County, the ethnicity, my experience there is just like wonder. I just have like a naive wonder about people in Orange County. I wonder what about your Orange County upbringing prepared you for this career in cannabis, aside from smoking? Is there anything about the Orange County-ness of you that makes you good at your job, is what I'm asking.
No.
Why not? Where does your expertise come from?
Does my Orange County-ness make my... So it's like where I grew up, essentially.
Yeah.
I think we have to separate the two because I personally have a strong dislike for Orange County, especially now. Like it's really conflicted in my heart because I don't really like it there. I'm very uncomfortable when I go when I'm there. It makes me uncomfortable. The suburbs, the perfection illusion of it all. A lot of the people, the fakeness, this suburban fake dream, really the planned suburban neighborhoods and communities, and pitting communities of color against each other, like this education. I mean, in so many ways, I'm so grateful for it because my parents worked so very hard so that I could grow up there and I could be very safe, and I got one of the best educations, and it's a beautiful place. Everything about it is beautiful. But as an adult, I'm so conflicted about it because it represents this entire world and space of this illusion of control that I'm just like morally so against, that when I'm there and I see the rows of like the seashell pink like stucco houses, like it hurts my heart. But I love the beach. It's beautiful. Like I'm so like I guess I'm good at my job because I was so grateful to have grown up there and also grown up in a lot of diversity. I feel like I had a lot of diverse friends growing up there. I'm glad that it gave my parents and my family an opportunity to like create a like to create a life for themselves and to pay for me to go to college and to have a great life. Like that's cool. So like my upbringing and being there is part of me, but like the place itself, it used to be beautiful orange groves that are gone, covered with asphalt and giant shopping malls.
Yeah. Can I ask you about the AAPI aspect?
Sure.
No, because I lived in San Francisco. All right. You may not know this about me. I am not Asian. I'm coming out.
Oh, damn.
I know.
I know. But it just seems to me that over the decades that I've been in California, Asian people in general are a lot more stony and consuming more. Am I wrong or right in that estimate from the outside?
I think it depends on what kind of crowd you roll with. It's who you're around. It's who you're in proximity to.
Do you feel like you're a role model in a way?
I don't know about a role model. That's so like, wow, that feels like a lot of pressure. I just know, I mean, I have noticed a lot more really badass, rebellious Asians openly consuming cannabis. And when I saw others who were brave enough to live and speak and share their truth and cannabis use, like it's Hedgen, Big Bad Wolf, it's Monica Lowe, Suede. It was Stephanie who did Mellows and did those delicious cannabis-infused marshmallows. Ophelia Chong, who started the Asian Americans for Cannabis Education. I consider them. I have weed aunties in the industry who I met who really helped me find my voice and feel confident. I mean, I am surprised are so many Asians in the cannabis industry who honestly kick ass and are great at what they do. Founder of Nabis is Asian. There's also an Asian Cannabis Roundtable. And through Mogu Magu, we're not so much in the cannabis industry. We are kind of reaching out and we collaborate with other industries. So we've collaborated with fashion. We did something with Dawang. We did with Mahjong. We work with like cross-cultural and intersectionality. And we also did with a comedian, what's her name? Jenny Yang. So we collaborated with her for like a comedy show. We did a Stone Philosophy Club this year for 420. So we're always reaching out and talking to the other like cannabis consuming Asians and other industries. And when we kind of find each other, the feeling is like, oh, I found my people. Like they get me. You get me. You get to share like also like our Asian culture and food and certain things. There's that familyness, and when your family is not supportive or not understanding, we always feel like the odd one out, the one that doesn't quite fit. So you're told you're the bad kid, and when you meet all the other bad kids, we're all like, oh, we're actually not that bad. We're actually kind of awesome. Like not bad, like baddie. So it feels really empowering to meet others and see others who inspired me to now host these spaces, to gather others who feel aligned with that and create a space for them to create their art and collaborate. And as a result of like the friendships and connections that people make by coming to these gatherings, like it's really neat seeing their businesses and art flow as well. So it's so rewarding. There's just the threads are everywhere, and seeing them is really magical.
How did you and Wendy connect?
How did Wendy and I connect? On the gram. We slid into each other's DMs. It was kind of like at the end of the pandemic, and our mutual friend Rachel Burkons was hosting like an Instagram cannabis chef cook-off kind of thing, but with like photos. And we were both in it, but in different rounds. So I saw Wendy had won her round, and then I was in mine. I was the last one, and I was looking back at seeing who are all these people winning the last round, and they were all mostly Asian women chefs, to be honest. And I was like, who are these women, and like why are they so badass at like making cannabis infused food? And so it turned out Wendy and I lived like not too far from each other in Los Angeles, and then we hung out and got high and talked and really like opened up about stuff, and our friendship really grew from there. And so we've been just like friends and creative partners and just doing fun things together to like share these stories and bring in others who want to feel the same way. And also her space is so amazing. At the time we met, she didn't have her beautiful secret garden space yet, and it was just a pile of dirt, and they were working on building it. And so we started hosting these small events so that people could come see her space and imagine and see what and like to test out what events would feel like. So it was so beautiful to see your book launch party there in that space, and watching that place grow from just that big oak tree and a pile of dirt into a place that could host you and your community and your creativity, and talk to all these really cool voices in media was neat.
Yeah, thanks. It was great. I mean, I loved it all, and I loved your stuff. Now, I asked you about Orange County and its influence on you. Did PR influence you as a storyteller? It had to, even in ways you don't want.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I spent my very young formative career working in public relations. It's, I still do it, but I do it differently now. I don't have to PR companies to get companies I don't really know or care about that much and make them more money and get them press. I get to use my powers of storytelling and public relations to help people and the storylines and the mission and the values that I align with, which is pretty cool. So,
yeah.
What is something?
There's a great tale behind you. I just have to point that out. It's punctuated. Yeah, I love it. I'm sorry, Lev, go on.
What's something you could tell us about kind of the future of the industry that might surprise us, or it's a chance for you to kind of speculate or say something that you wish would happen, or some direction you think things may go in.
I mean, what I fear is happening and will happen inevitably because we live in a capitalist bullshit society unless something changes radically. Honestly, just seeing rescheduling and seeing all of the things that are going on and how legalization has affected everything in California, I think we are headed in the wrong direction. I think we are headed for a corporatized pharmaceutical model of cannabis, where the government and whoever in the FDA says that this is cannabis, this is not, and they control everything, and everything is taxed. Already at the shop that I'm at, it's taxed 35%. All right, you go and you buy an eighth. Let's say, just for easy math, $20 an eighth. That's really cheap. Half of that maybe the store gets to keep after they pay everything else and all the taxes and the fees. And then you have the distributor and the middlemen and all of the taxes and the fees and everything else there. And then the farmer and whoever maybe grew that flower gets like this teeny tiny itty bitty little bit. So we went from an industry where you just got straight direct from the source and very few middlemen to now layers and layers of taxes, regulation, and all of this stuff. Now, I'm pro-regulation, except I'm just watching, especially with the federal rescheduling, the lobbying that's happening. Look at who is in the room signing this, who pushed for rescheduling, who has donated the most money. And I see the MSOs, I see these big pharma companies, and rescheduling is basically leading to that. It's cool that they're giving CBD to Medi-Cal seniors, but I think what is getting lost in legalization and this pharma model and people's need for control and consistency is cannabis as plant medicine, as an art, appreciating the craft, the farms, just this really generational knowledge that is going to get lost, that is passed down only through experience. And I'm so that's why we are also doing this food travel docuseries, because I want people to see where your weed comes from, see this place, and actually care enough to want that. Because right now, 99% of the dispensaries in California, only 1% of the dispensaries in California carry organic, sun-grown, regenerative cannabis. And the ones that do carry it, most of those are like the Trader Joe's version of that. So the most creme de la creme caviar right now is at rock bottom prices, and you can't even find it. So it's so rare, and yet it's so abundant that it's being lost. Like a whole culture of sun-grown cannabis from the Emerald Triangle is being lost to legalization. And so I worry about that. That's kind of what I think is happening, and the small farms and the craft and the people who paved the way for it are getting left behind and suffering the consequences. The medical patients, that California Prop 215 that got medical cannabis passed, all those medical patients are being left behind and without medicine. And you look at, as it legalizes in every other state, everything is indoor, replicable. Everything is fast, cheap, and easy, and it's the junk food of weed. And it's not medicine. It's making people sick. And so then people can then say, oh, see, I told you that was bad. It's not bad. We Frankensteined it.
Do you feel like because we have legalization, that the activism component is diminished to the point where we really actually need more?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, there's lots of activists. I think people are just so tired, too. And I think that what do people want to be activists about? There's so many things. It's overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I just have long felt, you buy your alcohol, you don't really think about where it comes from. And maybe it doesn't matter that much, but you do have to think about this. And maybe I think because it is a nascent, growing industry, that there ought to be more eyes on it. But we just don't know to think about it. And, even before pre-pandemic, there were so many more media outlets where we could talk about it. That's just an
Well, I mean, I'd
observation.
ask the same about our food, you know? You don't have to care where your food comes from. Should you? Do you want to?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What do I want to add? Do you have another question, love?
Well, what's coming up next that you can share with folks that you're involved with? Do you have a rough release date or anything yet for the travel
We
series?
don't yet. We are working. I mean, it's literally just us. This is a literal no budget, no budget,
Right.
self-produced, directed, all of it. We're hoping we'll be done and we'll have screenings by like winter, fall, but we shall see. There's a lot to get done. If anyone wants to help support, that would be amazing. If anyone wants to be invited to the screening parties, I'd suggest go to our website at mogumagu.co and sign up for the email list. That will probably send out an email list invite whenever those are ready. Or follow me on Instagram at Fruit and Flower. I'm sure I'll announce it whenever we are ready. But yeah, hey, thanks for letting me get on my soapbox. I feel like I've gotten super hot on so many topics here.
No, it's great.
No, I thought we were going to have like a very lighter conversation about maybe the aesthetics of weed, but I was surprised. I guess I'm surprised that you're as unhappy as I am about some of the things.
I mean, we can talk about magical, sparkly things. I mean, that is a big part of what I am creating. I think because I feel like so much of what I said, I think is so loaded. Because I'm frustrated. We're all frustrated. And so the world that you see in my fruit and flower universe is full of rainbows and sparkles and disco balls and happy things and really and Mogu Magu feels like that too. You know, we're creating like a weed goddess fantasy land, but also I'm trying to show and create like what kind of world do I want to see? Do I want to live in? Like, I'm tired of living in white and in shades of beige and tan. Like, I want more vibrancy. I want more color. You can't really see it, but I painted all my walls in my kitchen in like a crazy I Love Boosters inspired rainbow. And I want to inspire people to continue to be more curious, to try things, to don't just use cannabis to numb out and forget your troubles and pretend like this doesn't exist. Consume to open your eyes, to feel inspired, to be more creative. Like, I consume cannabis to feel inspired. Like, my edible's hitting and I'm clearly on a rant. I'm not speaking, something is speaking through me. But that's what I try to write about on my Substack and through Fruit and Flower. Like, they're really serious topics, but it's also, you know, really beautiful and aesthetically pleasing. But I try to create art that really tells a story. So when you read my writing, you look at my recipes and you look at my art, there's usually a lot of layers hidden between the lines. And if you see it and you know it, you know it. If you don't, you know, but I have a lot of my own Easter eggs hidden in there.
I know. I think
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've been thinking so much more about. I've been thinking a lot about AI, and you know how it's just all this technology is just kind of foisted on us.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, but then there's also the argument that it's like, well, we can kind of make it what we want to, you know, and I feel like there's this kind of tension these days where you know capitalism is just kind of overrunning things and we're losing control of things that you know that could empower us and could do other things. But
Yeah, it feels like sometimes we forget that we have a choice. We have a choice to spend our dollars and not support certain things. You know, I think it's so easy to get lost in the convenience trap. I find myself there often. You know, we're not all perfect. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying. I'm trying to make different choices, and I get to use my platform through Fruit and Flower, through Mogu Magu, to try to help inspire others to think like that too. You know, specifically about weed, but it really then starts to open you up to think about other things. You know, doing so much growing and gardening on my Substack, I have how-tos because I want people make your own edibles. They're really easy. If you grow your own plants, you can make your own medicine, you can make your own edibles. It's so cost effective. And when I have extras, I take them to compassion meetups and I donate my extra things or invite people and we make things together. And it's, to me, that feels like such a beautiful meaning of life. We kind of now coming back full circle to the beginning of the conversation of really appreciating and enjoying the community that you lived in. What I love about the community I live in now is I definitely feel this sense of community. I've found and I've made and I host community in my neighborhood, and it's something that being in Orange County could never. It's different. It feels different.
Well, I want to tell you,
I don't think there's a single
you're
dispensary.
super balanced. And that's the word that just keeps coming to mind.
You might not allow it.
Yeah, I know some of those Orange
beautiful
County
one.
cities don't.
There's a really beautiful one called High Seas in like Costa Mesa that has like $1 million saltwater fish tanks and sharks in it. That's really cool.
Oh, that sounds cool. Yeah. All right, Donnell, how you doing there?
Well,
Are you
thanks
there?
for
You
coming
frozen?
on.
'Cause you look frozen.
You have. I don't even want to use. I don't know the right word. What do you think? How would you describe this, Lev? Has this been entertaining, enlightening? Is there a word you would prefer?
We can't hear you, Donnell. You got cut out. Please repeat.
How would I describe what?
Well, I have to cut us off just because you're coming through kind of crappy here, but it's been really educational, and I love what you do. Please do more of it.
I'll describe it in a less crappy way. Now,
I'm gonna say
Donnell, I
goodbye.
don't know. All right. Well, let's wrap this up, Christina. It was so great.
You
for
have
you
to
to
say
join
something
us.
so we can have a
What's up, dude?
goodbye.
You're back, but you're quiet now. You're not talking.
This technology is not happening.
I know.
Well, this, I'm sure the Wi-Fi at his hotel or whatever is not kicking. But thank you so much for joining us. We'll just end this here. Again, Fruit and Flower on Instagram and everywhere else. Donnell, you have anything you wanted to add as we sign off?
Can you hear me and see me?
He does,
Yeah.
but it's not coming through. Kind of
All
better.
right. Yeah, kind of.
All
Well,
right.
you're
Well,
smiling
thank you for
now.
having me. This was so fun. It was great chatting. Well, thank you for listening to me go on my rants.
That's okay. That's what we love, and really appreciate the work that you do and the way you can articulate it and share it with these different communities as we go forward with things. Thank you, Donnell.
All right, Donnell.
We love you, Donnell.
Goodbye.
Cattails as well.